I've written one on Sushmita about how we started dating. Amisha comes much later in my life. I haven't still gotten there. I want to own the entirety of my past. Obviously, Bobby was the lead, and there were a lot of other actors. We were all in the same school. Ajay Devgan wasn't, but Ajay didn't act. He was the DOP, and Atul was the adventurous one. He told us about this dance bar. So we were like, we got to see, we got to see. Bobby was like, "Are you mad? I get into trouble. I'll get killed."
You've also mentioned that how your father, Praveen Bhatt, who was a DOP on the film Hum, was asked to leave the film set.
They told my father was that Amitabh Bachchan didn't like his work. It was humiliating, and I have learned never ever to do that to a technician. He says, "Vijay, tera naam Chauhan, pura naam." After the trolley came out, he looked at me and he caught me thinking. So he says, "क्या भैया आपको हमारा shot पसंद नहीं आया, introduction shot." Akshay was clearly on top. Shahid was still up and coming. Akshay would get the best of everything, and you better not try any other way. Gulam was necessarily about a film where a boy starts with a song that says "Tujhko kya," and then you realize I am the world and the world is me, and what is happening in Israel and Palestine today affects me, and that was basically what Gulam was about.
Vikram Bhatt, welcome to CNN News 18.
Thank you,
Vikram, first, a very happy new year to you.
and to you.
Although you have not announced your biopic or an autobiography, but I've been reading your recent post on the thread. It really
Yeah.
deserves to be part of a book. And today we'll be talking about some of the anecdotes that you have shared in a series of posts about your life, about that less inclusive Hindi film industry of late 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
You've been holding these stories for a long time inside you. What more can we expect? And what was it that you wanted to say when you decided to write and share this anecdote from your life?
So, I don't think that if I were to write a book, anyone is actually interested in picking it up. And if people are going to pick it up, they are going to rush to the chapters of my known life, which is my relationship with Sushmita or my relationship with Amisha and maybe Gulam and Raz and that's it. So I didn't think that, and I still don't think that anyone's going to spend money on my book. Uh, but except for some film buffs. But when I started writing on threads, I just wanted to record my feelings, my emotions that you have rightly said that I have inside me for so many years. And I said, why just not record them and just keep them? I didn't think anybody would, there would be a readership or people would start reading. Uh, I just wanted to put them there because, it's like, I call it the long obituary, uh, something that just stays there.
But you haven't, like you said about Sushmita and Amisha, but you haven't written anything about them so far on the threads.
I've written one on Sushmita about how we started dating. One thread is there.
Yeah.
Amisha comes much later in my life, so I haven't still gotten there. I will.
Sure.
But, there is also a spiritual reason why I'm doing this.
Okay.
And that is that um, I want to own the the entirety of my past. Every decision, everything that happened to me, I want to own it as something that I allowed, something that was part of my soul journey. Uh, and I don't want to blame anybody for anything that has happened with me in my life.
So then let's start on a happy note. First, tell us about the film Manav that you made with your college friends Ajay Devgan, Bobby Deol, and Atul Agneepath.
Yeah, what fun days those were. Filled with innocence and untouched by the corruption of the film industry, or the corruption of life for that matter, untouched by failure, by betrayals. The only thing we thought at that time was that, oh, talent equals to success. What we did not know at the time was that talent and success got nothing to do with each other.
But then how that Mana was born?
We were all in the same school. Ajay Devgan wasn't, but other than that, all of us were in the same school. So Bobby knew that I was doing this, and so we got together through some common friends and said, "चल ना एक picture बनाते हैं ऐसे ही." And then we got together and we started doing this. Made our own editing studio and made our own dubbing studio and stole some lights from his uncle, uh, four baby lights, and that's it. That's how we made our movies. Uh, of course, they're hilarious if you see them now.
What was the
Uh,
story?
the story was so Godfather-esque, um, crime and guns, and that's all guys can think of, right? At that time,
Yeah.
everything's got to do with guns, and then there were no girls who were willing to work with us in any case. So it was like a, you know, heavy testosterone kind of film. Though I got one of my friends to act for 2 days, and then she ran away, obviously, because this is all these full guy team. But so what can you do, right? If you just have guys, what kind of film you're going to make? Gangster films. What else?
And who played the lead role? Bobby or Ajay?
No. So Ajay was doing something else. He was not in this film. Ajay wanted to do. Ajay didn't act. Ajay was very shy. He was the DOP. He used to handle the camera, and so we got Atul in that also. But it was like, um, obviously Bobby was the lead, and there were a lot of other actors. There was Ashish Singh, who then became president or vice president of IRF, and is now, I think, he's with Laika. There were some other friends. I don't even know where they are now. You know,
Sure.
maybe they are watching this and laughing.
So then, are you friends with Ajay Devgan now? You of course cast Bobby in your 2005 film Jurm.
So, you know how this place is, right? I mean, once you start working and you have your own life, your own agendas, you get busy. So Ajay and I haven't kept in touch that way. Of course, when we meet, there's still the old friendship. But Bobby and I have a more bum jumps. Uh, we're in touch now and then, and I'm very happy for the success that he's found. I have seen him go through some really hard times, and his perhaps is one of the most historic turnarounds in the film industry that we have seen, and I'm really happy for him.
You also have shared stories from the sets of Hum and Agneepath. Can you please talk to us about assisting Mukul Anand for the film Hum and how you landed that job? What was your first meeting like with superstars, Amitabh Bachchan and Rajnikant? You of course have talked about shooting the scene from the film Hum where you took Rajnikant in your old Fiat car to Film City.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't do much. Agnipath was a film that I was on from beginning to end because my father and Mukul Anand were good friends, and uh, my father. So I was chasing Mukul Anand right from the time Insaf was being made, and Insaf was for him was also like a make or break. And he said, "Look, Vikram, if Insaf becomes a hit, I'll have other films. If it doesn't, I won't. So if I have another film, then you can join. And then Agneepath happened. He kept his word. He got me on board. Amitabh Bachchan, obviously, I knew. I mean, he knew me. Everybody knows him. He knew me as Praveen Bhai's son, and I used to go with my father for Hum and Khuda Gawaz. But then on Agnipath, of course, it was pretty amazing working with all these people. Awe-inspiring, really. They were stars, real stars.
In that series of threads, you've also mentioned that how your father, Praveen Bhatt, who was a DOP on the film Hum, was asked to leave the film sets by director Mukul Anand and Umesh Sharma, who's the producer of the film Hum. They actually blamed it on Amitabh Bachchan when the song Jumma Chumma was being shot. Did you get a chance to ask your
Yeah.
father what is the real reason behind that whole episode?
Yeah. So what they told my father was that Amitabh Bachchan didn't like his work, um, which was completely untrue. And the strange fact is that when I directed Mr. Bachchan in a film called Etbar, much later on in life, my father was a DOP. So, if he had a problem, he would have made sure that my father was not the DOP. Why they wanted him out, I have no idea. There was no question of not liking his work because he went on to do films like, Sadak and Dil Ke Manta Nahi and Ashiki and all after this, and went on to do another 20 years work, which would have not happened had that been the case. Uh, I mean, I don't know why Mukul Anand's not alive anymore to answer that question. So unfortunately, I think he's taken it with him as to why he did not want my father to be there. But it was humiliating for him. Um, and I have learned never ever to do that to a technician whose livelihood depends on your decisions. It was a hard time for us.
You have actually mentioned that in another post that how while Hum was on the floor, then you were busy with the post production of the film Agnipath. You actually wanted
Yeah,
to quit Agnipath, but film editor Vaman Bhosle asked you to be
yeah.
professional and continue your work on the film. That must have been tough for you, right?
I was all of 20 years. Though I was a chief assistant and I was handling everything, I was a young boy, emotional. And you can take your own humiliation, but taking the humiliation of your parent is hard for any child. But Vaman Saab was also like a father to me in terms of taught me everything I know about film editing. Vaman Saab said, Vikram, don't do that. You've got everything. Why should another producer, in this case Yash Johar, why should another producer who's got nothing to do with suffer? That wouldn't be right. Uh, you should finish your responsibility and then perhaps not do another film. But this one you must finish. So it was hard, emotionally hard. And I was so young. But I think these hard lessons of life uh, have held me in good stead.
Also, you of course have thanked your Johar for giving you credit as a chief AD on the film Agnipath.
Yeah,
That film had many memorable moments for even for the viewers.
yeah,
The most popular one is Maut ke Saath Appointment, that scene.
yeah.
Remember shooting that scene from Agnipath?
Yeah, we shot it twice actually. The one that is in the film was not the one that was shot first, though I prefer the one that was shot first. But so it was one of the first few days of shooting with Mr. Bachchan. And that is when he had decided to change his voice and do this new voice. And he had this kajal in his eyes and all that. So there's an anecdote. Uh, so there's a trolley shot, and the trolley is going around the commissioner. And then once it comes out from behind the commissioner's back, you see Mr. Bachchan, and he says, Vijay Tiranath Chauhan, pura naam. So after the trolley came out, he took a moment, he looked here, he looked there, and he said, Vijay Tiranath Chauhan. I'm thinking to myself, why is he taking so long after the trolley is coming out? Why is he not just saying the line? So he had a habit of, or he has a habit, perhaps, I have not worked with him in a while, of looking around, say, kya bhaiya, tumko shot pasand nahi aaya? He says, sometimes. So he looked at me and he caught me thinking. So he says, kya bhaiya, aapko hamara shot pasand nahi aaya, introduction shot? I said, nahi sir, aisa bilkul nahi. Kuch to hai, he said. So I said, nahi, main sirf ye soch raha tha, sir, कि आपने अनकवर होने के बाद इतना टाइम क्यों लगाया, तो ये सोच रहा था. So he nodded. तुम्हारा पिक्चर का म्यूजिक डायरेक्टर कौन है? So I said, लक्ष्मीकांत प्यारेलाल. हीरो का एंट्री है, वो बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक देगा ना, तो कैमरा निकलेगा, फिर बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक आएगा, टन टन टन, उसके बाद डायलॉग आएगा. सर, तो अगर मैं बोलूंगा तो म्यूजिक कहाँ से आएगा? I was like, oh my God, I never thought that. And that was phenomenal film craft from an actor. And then when we did the background score, his timing was so right that he had just given enough space for that score and his dialogue came. And I think that is something actors of today don't have. They don't have film craft. They may be good actors and they may be, everything, good dancers, good lookers, but they don't have film craft. I call it cinema literacy.
So there were other big actors working on Agneepath. There was Mithun Chakraborty. There was Danny.
Yeah. Fantastic. Mithun Chakraborty also have written a thread about.
Yeah. So can you please share how was your work, your experience of working with Mithun Chakraborty?
Mithun da was very different. Mithun da used to do like 7, 8 films together. Unlike Amit ji used to do 2 or 3 at that time, at the most. So his dates were very hard to come by. But he took an hour to understand the role. And he would just belt it out. So effortless. So he was like a fish to water. I haven't seen an actor for whom acting is so easy. It's like breathing. There's no effort. Start, sound, ready. Cut, gone. No effort. And no, how should I put it? No pretension at greatness. Even now, he's very close to me and he's one of my favorite people in the world, Dada. I have never seen him make a big deal about how an actor should prepare, how he should do this. He's none of those things. And this whole thing of Krishna Nayyar MA was something he brought to life, with people he knows, with a roommate that he shared a room with, the way he laughs like that, he half snorts in the film and he uses words like, ये मेरा 325 rupees का नुकसान हुआ ना. He doesn't say नुकसान. He says, Nuskan hua na. So all these things, he brought it to the film. It was him. ये लुंगी उठाएगी फिर मालूम नहीं क्या क्या गिरेगा. He used to laugh. And we used to all crack up on the set, you know. Amit ji used to crack up. Because, and every take is different. There's nothing studied about him. And the most important thing I saw in these two people, Amitabh Bachchan, Mithun Chakraborty, great stars, great actors, I never saw them compete.
Yeah.
I never saw them trying to, get one up on each other. In a bad way, that is.
Does that you something that you observe in today's actors? Like, do they compete with each other?
They do. Come on. Let's not kid each other. They do. Look, I haven't done a multi-starrer since Deewane Hue Pagal, which was in 2005. So you're talking to an antique piece. I don't know what the going rate is right now. I have since then not worked with big stars. I have made my peace with what I want to make. But yeah, I'm sure there is. I hear stories like you do.
But then you of course have made multi-starrer, like you said, like Awara Pagal Divana and Deewane Hue Pagal. Did you ever experience a rivalry between the actors on the sets of these films?
I mean, there was Akshay. See, the thing is that at that time, Akshay was clearly on top. Shahid was still up and coming. Jab We Met had not released.
Yeah.
Sunil Shetty was a star, but Akshay was the bigger star at that time. So Akshay would get the best of everything, which was pretty clear. And you better not try any other way. So I think that is more out of who is the leading star. But that even has happened with Amitabh Bachchan. If you see a film like Amar Akbar Anthony, one can see that he is, leading the charge, even though it's a film of three actors. But that is about who is the most successful at that moment and who is the bigger star at that moment. So I think your question would be more, how would I put it, more, it would be proper to ask this question in a film where you have equals.
Sure. You also mentioned on Threads, Bobby Deol was dating an actress, and that time he used to accompany him. Are you very close to Bobby Deol?
Bobby and I have been bum jumping around town for so many years. And then, I became a director and I had my own nightmares and conflicts to deal with. He had his own nightmares and conflicts. And so we kind of drifted apart. There is still a lot of affection between us, even today. But no, we're not in touch, sadly.
You also the recent your thread is talk about a visit to a dance bar.
Yeah, so we were like 18 at that time, 18 or 19. And Atul was the adventurous one, He told us about this dance bar. And we were like, what's a dance bar, dude? And he says, you get to eat and there are these women dancing. So we were like, oh, that's like a kotha. He says, no, this is not a kotha. This is like proper music and, so we were like, we got to see. Bobby was like, are you mad? I get into trouble. I'll get killed. We were like, come on, man, we've got to see this. So we kind of stole into this. We didn't steal into it when we went there. Shy as hell. But we had to see what this whole dance bar thing was. Uh, but we just had food and of course we didn't drink. So we got the hell out of there as quickly as we could. But I think, it was more a very, I would say, a strange, raw, Dalish experience.
So you went with along with Bobby Deol and Atul Agnihotri.
And another friend by the name of Bhushan.
Sure, sure. Also, in the same series of thread that you posted, I really want to call it like a diary of an AD. So, which film did you actually assist Shekhar Kapoor for?
Oh, you're grabbing my threads from me before I can post them. So there were three films. There was Bobby's film that he was directing at the time. There was Dushmani and there was Time Machine, which never got complete. So those were the films. But I shall be writing about Shekhar and my journey.
Like you said, Mahesh Bhatt played an important role in your life. You really
Still
consider
does.
him as your mentor.
He still does.
Yeah. You, of course, assisted him on films like Hame Rai Pyar Ke and Junoon.
Yes.
How would you like to describe the influence of Mahesh Bhatt's school of filmmaking on your craft?
Mahesh Bhatt never taught us filmmaking. That is the beauty about him. He just taught us life. He never came and said, "Ye shot 50 million aana chahiye, ye shot 75 million aana chahiye, edit aisa hona chahiye." He was never about all those things. He was like, he would one day he would just come to you and say, Vikram, in life, when you're not courageous, you become cunning. And now he would say something like that, and then the whole day you would wonder, when you're not courageous, you become cunning. That's true. All the cunning people lack courage. And then suddenly you have a character who is cunning because he's not courageous, like Sukhi Lala of Mother India. So that's the way he taught us filmmaking. He taught us life, and he's never said, a top shot hona chahiye, ye long shot hona chahiye. Never. As a matter of fact, I remember this so well, and this is going to be a thread. Uh, there was a shot in which Aamir Khan comes home with the three kids in Hame Rai Pyar Ke, for the first time after his sister is dead, and he's taken over the kids. So I was sitting next to him, and I would call him boss. So I said, he okayed the shot. I said, "Boss, may I suggest something?" He says, "Yes, of course." That's the way he says. Even a light man is allowed to talk on his set. Anyone can give a suggestion. Of course, it's up to him to take it or not, but it's a place of freedom and creativity. So he said, "Yes, go ahead." I said, "Boss, after his sister is dead, this is the first time he's come to her house with her children. This house must be filled with so many memories for him. You think he can just have a feel?" So he got up and he said, "Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This is what direction is. This is what direction is. Aamir, listen to what this boy is saying. One more." And he made me feel like I was David Lean. You know, he was so encouraging and so empowering that I felt I've made it. I have a silver jubilee and I'm done with life. Uh, that's the person he is and
Totally,
remains.
totally. I remember watching one of his interviews and where he said, "What you're hiding from the world, that is the person you are," and
Yeah,
it's so true.
you are what you hide.
Yes, thank. You of course directed Gulam, which was released in 1998. It starred Amir Khan and Rani Mukherjee. While most of the people remember it for the song "Kya Bolti Tu" and the railway track sequence that was called "Dusty Door." Dusty Door. What was it that you wanted to say with Gulam? It was written by Angam Rajabali, who's I think the master when it comes to that.
Gulam Gulam was a film that came at a time when we were on the precipice of terrorism, and it was slowly coming to us. And there was a time when, when we were little, in the late 80s and early 90s, before the bomb blast, that we felt that terrorism is a thing that happens in Punjab, it's a thing that happens in Kashmir. We never thought that terrorism is a thing that can visit us. And then slowly, it did come. We had our 26/11, we had our uh, tryst with terrorism, and it came home. And finally, from faraway places, we heard our friends and our kin dying. So Gulam was necessarily about a film where a boy starts with a song that says "Tujhko kya," you know, कहीं डाका कोई डाल रहा है तो डालने दे तुझको क्या. And then you realize I am the world and the world is me. And what is happening in Israel and Palestine today affects me. We may think it doesn't, but it does, because we are all part of one. And that was basically what Ghulam was about. That ultimately he has to take matters into his hand. And ultimately he has to fight the monster of his locality. And from a boy who said, Tujhko kya, he had to, graduate to being someone who said, Sab kuch main hi hu.
Sure. So, well, in the end, I want to thank you for taking time out and talking to us. Happy New Year. Looking forward to your next film and the new anecdotes that you're going to be sharing on Threads. Hope you write a book someday. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you.